So today, we're diving into one of the most profound spiritual journeys a person can take, the Hajj. And I want to be clear, this is so much more than just a trip or a series of rituals. It's a pathway, one that's designed to completely transform a person from the inside out.
And this quote right here, it just nails the core of it. A journey that cleanses sins and purifies the soul. That really sets the tone for everything. You see, the Hajj is understood as a journey inward. It's a purification process that starts way before anyone even sets foot in Mecca.
Okay, so how does a journey of this scale even begin? Well, it all starts with a single, conscious decision to leave the everyday, material world behind and step into a sacred state of being.
That state is called ihram, and it's so much more than just wearing two simple pieces of white cloth. It's a state of mind. By getting rid of their normal clothes, pilgrims are also shedding all the symbols of wealth, status, and identity. You'll have a CEO standing right next to a farmer, and you can't tell them apart. They're equal. The entire focus shifts from what's on the outside to what's on the inside. Simplicity for the body, which leads to purity for the mind.
As soon as they enter this state of ihram, pilgrims start reciting the talbiyah. This chant, it basically becomes the soundtrack of their journey. Just imagine millions of voices all chanting this rhythmic response to God's call. I am here. I've left it all behind to answer your invitation. It's incredibly powerful.
So, once they've prepared themselves spiritually, the pilgrims arrive in the holy city of Makkah, and this is where the physical rites began, all centered around the Kaaba, that famous cube-shaped building that Muslims all over the world face when they pray. When they arrive, two main rituals kick things off. First, you have the tawaf, which is the act of circling the Kaaba, and that's followed by the sa'i, a brisk walk between two little hills. And, each one has a deep story behind it.
So the tawaf involves circling the Kaaba 7 times, 7 circuits, always counterclockwise. Try to picture it, a massive sea of people all moving as one single body, orbiting the sacred center.
This physical act of orbiting has this really profound spiritual meaning. It's like the pilgrims are symbolically breaking free from the orbit of their own worldly lives, their jobs, their worries, their stuff, and they're entering a divine orbit instead. With every single circle, the idea is to get closer to God, to peel away another layer of your own ego. Next up is the sa'i. This ritual is rooted in this incredibly powerful human story. Pilgrims walk back and forth 7 times between 2 hills, and what they're doing is reenacting the desperate search for water by Hajar for her baby son Ismail. It's a way of remembering a mother's incredible perseverance, her hope, and her absolute faith that God would provide.
Now let's get to the absolute climax of the entire pilgrimage. Everything we've talked about so far, it's all building up to this one single day that really defines the entire Hajj experience.
There's a famous saying, the Hajj is Arafah. It's that critical. Seriously, if a pilgrim misses this one day, they've missed the entire Hajj. On the 9th day of the Islamic month of Zulhijjah, millions of people gather on this huge plain, just standing in prayer, from noon all the way until sunset.
Just imagine that for a second. Millions of people, all in those simple white robes, standing under the hot sun, together. They spend these hours in really intense personal prayer, asking for forgiveness and mercy. It's often described as a rehearsal for the Day of Judgment, a moment of deep vulnerability and hope, where it's believed that God's mercy is just pouring down.
Then, as the sun sets on Arafah, the crowd moves to a place called Muzdalifah. Here, they spend the night out under the stars, kind of in quiet reflection after such an intense day. And while they're there, they get ready for the next stage by collecting small pebbles. And these little pebbles, they have a very specific, very symbolic job to do.
This next part of the Hajj is all about a series of symbolic acts. They represent an internal struggle, a test of a pilgrim's resolve, and also a way to show their gratitude.
Which brings us to one of the most famous images of the Hajj, right? The one you've probably seen. The act of pilgrims throwing those little pebbles they collected at 3 large stone pillars. So, what's that all about?
Well, the answer is deeply symbolic. The pillars represent temptation, or Satan. And the act of throwing the pebbles, it's called Rami, is a physical reenactment of the prophet Abraham's rejection of evil. So for every pilgrim, it becomes this deeply personal act of casting away their own sins, their bad habits, their negative thoughts. It's a declaration of their promise to lead a better life.
After the stoning ritual, pilgrims perform a sacrifice, which is called udiyah. This is to remember Abraham's willingness to sacrifice his own son out of obedience to God. But today, the act is really one of gratitude.
The meat from the animal that's sacrificed is given to the poor, which turns an act of devotion into this huge act of global charity and community.
So, after these really intense days of rituals, the Hajj starts to wind down. But here's the thing. The end of the pilgrimage is actually the start of a whole new chapter in a pilgrim's life.
Before leaving Makkah, pilgrims do one last tawaf, circling the Kaaba 7 more times. This is called the farewell tawaf. It's this final, poignant moment of connection. It's a goodbye to the physical center of their faith before they start the journey home.
And this really gets to the true purpose of the whole thing. The Hajj itself might only last a few days, maybe a few weeks, but its goal is to create a change that lasts a lifetime. The real journey and the real challenge is to take all those lessons of humility and patience and devotion and carry them back into your daily life.
So we're kind of left with this final thought. The Hajj is this meticulously designed physical path. You're walking, circling, standing, casting stones, but its goal is completely internal. And it poses this fascinating question about us, about the human experience. How can a set of physical actions so profoundly change a person's inner world? That connection between what the body does and what the soul becomes, well, that's maybe the ultimate mystery and miracle of this whole sacred journey.